But first, urban renewal. That's the concept at the core of grand plans for the Eastlake area of Lake Burley-Griffin. Massive development over the next 3 decades will provide green and modern high-density housing for 9,000 people. It's also created community and heritage concerns. The old bus depot markets face an uncertain future, and there's been talk for years the Kingston rail hub will be relocated. The next in line is the community of the Causeway. The residents say they've been told the bulldozers are coming, they just don't know when. Chris Kimball reports.
What's life like in the Causeway?
Fantastic. I really don't want to live anywhere else. It's quiet. Everybody knows everybody but doesn't live out of anybody's pockets. The children are safe. Your home's safe. Yeah, it's just an awesome area.
Safe.
Space.
The kids can run around, the grandkids. You've got no worries.
And everybody looks after one another. You when you get a ring up, put your hand up and you always got someone here to look after you.
Tucked behind the railway station and bordered by $1 million units at Kingston foreshore, you'll find the micro-community of the Causeway. How does it make you feel when people say the Causeway is Canberra's wrong side of the tracks?
Angry. Very, very angry. Yep. I can't see why they say that. There's no reason for it because it's just not the wrong side of tracks.
The area here, we're actually, you wouldn't call us a community, we're more family. Everybody knows everybody.
Originally a village for workers who built Canberra in the 1920s, there's now about 50 houses and 100 residents, most of them government housing tenants. Daphne and Bill Sims have been here for 34 years. Donna Fitzgerald has lived in the Causeway all her life.
Mrs Griffith, who lives just down the road there, she has been here for 83, nearly 84 years. She was born and raised here. My mum came here when she was 9 years old, so she's been here nearly 70 years. There's quite a few in the area that were actually born and raised here and still here. So, yeah, and we don't want to leave the area. It's our home.
Canberra was built from areas like this, small settlements which were built for the working man, and they're slowly but surely going.
The Causeway has become a symbolic stumbling block for the massive Eastlake development. Canberra's biggest urban renewal program will swallow up the city's smallest suburb.
This is the most significant infill development that Canberra has witnessed.
Neil Savoury is the Chief Executive of ACT Planning.
It's very difficult, though, to put a quantitative measure around what is an acceptable level of community or social impact, because the inevitability is that any form of development has an impact on someone or something.
Causeway residents have a different opinion on what's an acceptable level of impact. Do you think you represent the community cost of this big grand plan for Eastlake?
Yes. Yes, I honestly do. It's really sad. It makes us cry. We don't want to leave our area. We have actually threatened to chain ourselves to our front doors so they can't take us out. But yeah, we're going to be bulldozed. And, you know, that's plain and simple.
So I think there's always that inevitability, particularly people who have an emotional attachment to an area. Sometimes their views won't necessarily be consistent with the ambitions or aspirations of government and the broader community for what we want to achieve with Eastlake.
The Causeway is a community in limbo. Residents have given up the fight to save their homes. Their frustration now is finding out when they'll have to move. If someone from the Causeway said to you, when is the bulldozer going to knock my house down, what would you say?
I'm not in a position to answer it. For a start, the Department of Housing still has to, and the Minister for Housing still has to make his own set of decisions, and the government have to make their own set of decisions around it, precisely what's to happen with the Causeway residents and the houses, and that's part of the work that's going to go forward. So it would be impossible for me to give an answer to that.
Do you understand why they might have those concerns about when their houses are going to be?
I can understand, because we can't be definitive. I'm saying to you now that we're getting close to being confident that development can start in 2011.
So 2011, you're talking about land release. Is that something that the residents can use as their time frame to say, righto?
It is a yardstick, and it's a public document. It's in the government's land release program.
The government says the consultation has been extensive. What's your opinion on the consultation process to this point?
Well, that's garbage. And I would tell any of those politicians or the government, whoever was standing here face to face with me now, that it's garbage and they're liars, because they just tell us what they think we want to hear, and it's the same thing every meeting for the last 2 years.
I'm satisfied with the level of consultation to date, noting that there's been ongoing conversations on a regular basis with the Causeway residents.
They won't give us that honest answer. That's our question every meeting. When is it going to happen? How long do we have? Where are we going to go to? They tell us that they're going to get 51 houses where we will still all be close together as we are now. Where are they going to find those 51 houses when they can't find houses for people who have been sitting on the housing list for 10 years?
Every resident who is currently a public housing tenant who wants to remain in this area, it is my understanding that the Minister has already indicated to them that they'll have that opportunity and that there will be public housing, but it may not be of the style that is currently there.
The development train also means an uncertain future for the Causeway's neighbours, with parallel concerns about timeframe issues.
We moved onto this site 30 years ago, and we thought this was a really great place for a museum, but expansion in Canberra has meant that the land is now required for home units.
Canberra's rail museum, including 100 vehicles, sheds, tools, maintenance equipment and tracks, is likely to be shifted to a new site on the other side of Fyshwick. That whole process, how much is it likely to cost?
Millions.
And who's going to cop that cost?
Well, we've had assurances from the ACT government that they're going to support this activity. I think the land here is worth a substantial amount of money to the government.
Have you been told when you need to move all of these trains and all of your
No, we haven't got a
infrastructure?
date at this stage.
Is that frustrating?
It's a bit frustrating, but we've had assurances that we're going to get some assistance to move.
I could describe this project as an assembly of 60 mini projects when I think about all the things that we have to do, and each one potentially involves its own set of consultation. It's got its own body of community interest, and that's why it takes years to work through.